Hey everybody, we're going to go ahead and review the last three sections so we can have a quiz on it and move on to some new and exciting material. Okay, so again, we're just on our review of our y equals mx plus b word problems, and let's see how we do. Mrs. Langelli filled her van with gas. The van says that I can go 420 miles. I get 20 miles per gallon. Well, I only have two numbers there. So two numbers is not enough to make 2 points. So I must be given y equals mx plus b. So I have 420 to deal with, and then I have 20 to deal with. Well, since it says 20 miles per gallon, that's the one that's going to get your slope, okay? Because this is the word per. That's going to make the slope. So if it's 20 miles per gallon, and I have 420, let's think about how this could relate to a car. If I let y stand for how many miles I have left, and I let x stand for how many gallons I've used, see how it says 20 miles per gallon, so gallon makes it x. I know that I am losing 20 miles, even though I started with 420. So there's my losing 20 miles every gallon that I use, and I'm starting with 420. So my equation is y equals negative 20x plus 400 because I started at 420 and my van is losing 20 miles for every gallon that I go. So that is the equation in slope-intercept form. I didn't have a ton of work to do there because I was given the information that I needed for my slope and for my y-intercept. So I already labeled my x and my y just using those arrows. The next thing I'm going to do is it looks like it's time to graph it. So graphing y equals mx plus b, I go to the y-intercept first. So I'm going to graph the 420 by putting a dot at 420. My slope says that I'm going to go down 20 units over 1. So down 20 over to the right 1. Now where's my 1 at? Let's look at this, how it's graphing. Okay, so every grid line is 1. So down 20 over 1. Down 20 over 1. And that is going to continue until I run out of gallons and miles in my car. So I'm going to grab the whole graph, my top line, I'm going to pull it straight down. I'm going to make it, oop, this pen must be a little off. Let's see here. There we go. Perfect. So it's not going to have an arrowhead on either side because I can't have negative gallons and I can't have negative miles. So this is my line. I do need to go ahead and draw my labels. So over here, this is how many miles I have left in my car. And this down here is how many gallons I have used. And I guess maybe I should use a capital G since it's a label. All right. Now it says how many gallons does she have left after 150 miles? Remember, miles was my Y. So I'm going to do 150 equals negative 20 times X plus 420. So I'm going to put my fence on. I'm going to do minus 420 to get X by itself. What's that going to make? Let's see. That's, you know what? I have kids coming in about 15 minutes, so I better use a calculator so I don't have to redo anything. Don't want to make any silly mistakes, huh? So negative 270 equals negative 20x, and divide by negative 20, and I get x equals 13.5, and x stood for gallons. So she used, or I used, 13.5 gallons if I have 150 miles left. All right, pause the video and rewind if you need any further explanation. Mrs. Langelli gave Miss Hampel a $10 gift card to Starbucks. Each of her students also gave her $5. That's just two numbers. I just have a 10 and a 5. So which one is associated with the word each? Well, that's the 5. Okay, so it was $5 each student. So X must represent how many students? I'll just write number of students. So what in this world is this 10 going on, right? Well, this is just your beginning value. So I'm just going to write beginning amount. So I'm going to do y equals 5x. Now it sounds like everything was going up from Miss Hample. The 10 was positive and the students are also giving and they're not taking from her. Oh my gosh, I hope you guys aren't taking from her. So they're both positive because the 10 is going up and the 5 is going up. So y must represent how much money she has for Starbucks. On the keystones, please make your labels a little fancier than mine, like maybe write them as a sentence. So that is my equation in y equals mx plus b. Very similar to my last one. I didn't have to work too hard for it. So if you're thinking, oh, it's going to happen later, okay? So let's graph that. Let's go to positive 10 and make our first dot for Miss Hample. This is where she's starting with her Starbucks. And I strategically counted by fives for you because it's going up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1. And that's going to continue for as many students as Miss Hample has. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to draw an arrowhead on it because it's not like limited to any positives or negatives. You can go all the way up forever until, she runs out of students. So the x-axis, remember, is how many students give her a gift card. And then this is the money to Starbucks that she has. Okay, so now what we're going to do is check. We labeled our axes. We drew an arrow because it goes up and to the right forever. And it says how many students gave her a gift card if she got 225. Well, 225 is a dollar amount for Starbucks, which was our y. So when we have y equals 5x plus 10, I'm going to put 225 in for y. I think this is the hard part for students, knowing what to plug it in for. So just go back to like what we did in the very beginning with our labels. So subtract 10 from both sides. That's 215 equals 5x. Divide each side by 5. Let me just use a calculator here on my computer that's sitting beside me. 215 divided by 5 is 43. So my statement is going to be that 43 students gave her a gift card if she has how much money? $225. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Pause the video and rewind and slow down if you need another explanation. Rosie got a gift card for her birthday. After buying 4 items, she only had $30 left. After buying 10 items, she only had $15 left. All the items were equal price. Well, unfortunately, I was given 4 pieces of information, which is too much for y equals mx plus b. So I must have 2 points. Now, what determines what, guys? Does how many items determine how much money she has left? Or does how much money she has left determine how many items she bought? Well, whatever she bought is going to determine how much she has left. So if she bought 4 items, she has $30 left. If she bought 10 items, she has $15 left. So I have 2 points. That means that X must be the number of items that were bought, and Y is going to be the dollar amount left on the gift card. Rosie's my daughter, by the way. And I mean, that's not true, but I don't know. I saw it. I was typing this beside her, so I used her name. Well, I got it from my slope. That's a dead giveaway. Anytime that you have 2 points, you need a slope. So I'm going to do 30 take away 15. And if I do 30 take away 15, I need to do 4 take away 10. Please remember, I still have kids thinking that X goes on the top. Please remember your Y values go on the top and your X values go on the bottom. So 30 minus 15 is 15. 4 minus 10 is -6. And because this is a word problem, I'm just going to really quick grab my calculator and divide it. What do I have, guys? I have 15 divided by -6. I may as well keep this just in case I mess something up. I don't want to have to redo all my notes. So I'm going to use negative 2.5. That's my slope. And just so we're all aware, this was money and this was items. So that must mean that she goes down $2.50 for every item she buys. So I have y minus y1, and just to highlight a point, I'm going to use that point. So y minus 15 equals m, which I got to be negative 2.5, times x minus x1, which in this case would be 10. So you can see I used the 15 and the 10, and then I used the negative 2.5 right there. So this is point slope form, which will be given to you on the keystones on your formula sheet. So make sure to keep an eye out for that formula sheet, okay? So when I distribute, I get negative 2.5x plus, it's like negative 2.5 times negative 10. So that's how I'm going to get plus 25. I know that might not make a lot of sense, so I'm going to show you on the calculator. The last thing I'm going to do is add my 15 because I want to get it in slope-intercept form. It's easier to graph, it's easier to examine. So I have negative let's see, negative 0.25x plus, that's going to be $40. All right, now I'm going to graph that. So there's a couple of ways I can graph that. I can try to graph that using y equals mx plus b, but that looks kind of difficult on this graph. So instead, I'm just going to plot my 2 points. So I need to plot a point at 10, 15. Let's go ahead and find out where in the world 10, 15 is. Swoop that up and let's find 10, 15. So here's 10. Oops, where's 15 at? Up. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Go slow. There's 14 and 15. There it is. So that is 10 and 15. All right, let's go get the other point. 4 and 30. So I'm going to just draw a dot. 4 and 30. Let's swoop that up. Here's 4. Oh, 30 must be up higher. 4, up, and 30. There it is. Now I'm going to connect very carefully. Very careful. And I'm going to go over here. Very careful. Good. What's really neat is that if you did that really carefully, you should see that your y-intercept matches that y-intercept, and it sure does. So did I label my axes? I definitely did not. Remember, x was the items bought. Look how lazy I'm going to be, guys. Boop, 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 boop. And y was the money left on the gift card. So I'll say money left on gift card. Is gift card one word? It is today. Did I label my axes? Yep. Did I draw an arrowhead? Not needed. And what are the intercepts and what do they mean? Well, I know my first intercept is 40, right? So I can say that my y-intercept was 40. You know what that means? That was her beginning amount. So what was at the beginning of? It must have been the beginning amount of, well, what was the y-axis? That was the beginning amount of her gift card. That was nice. I love using my axes to help me identify what I'm talking about. So this intercept is 40, right? And it's the money on her gift card. The other intercept looks like it's 16 if we draw a line really carefully. So my x-intercept, well, that was 16. What was the x's? That's the item spot. So she is allowed to buy 16 total items. That's what the intercept means. And that is the statement. Just look up above. Next, number 4. Okay, I've got kids coming in at 5 minutes, so I'll probably have to do another video, but that's okay. I think I can do number 4. Mr. Sun wants to take some kids on a field trip. The school told him it would be $60 for 40 students and $120 for 60 students. Well, that is 4 pieces of information, 4 numbers. That's too much for y equals mx plus b, so it looks like I need to do 2 points. So the question is, what numbers go first? Do I do 60 comma 40 or do I do 40 comma 60? Well, that's a good question. What do you think is the determining factor? So would you say, hey, I know it's $60, so I'm bringing 40 students? Or would you say, hey, I'm going to bring 40 students and therefore it's $60? Well, hopefully you picked option B. The amount of people is going to tell you how much it's going to be. So this is the number of people and this is the total cost. Okay, so the number of people is going to tell you your total cost. So this one was written backwards, but hopefully you're able to understand why I had to reverse it. I don't have my slope, so I'm going to find my slope. That's a very large slope and very obnoxious. I'm going to do 120 minus 60 on the top, which means I need to do 60 minus 40 on the bottom. So that's going to be, I'm going to make that smaller because that's just silly for me to make it that big. So that top is going to be 60 and the bottom is going to be 20, which ends up being a 3 when you type that in the calculator. And what was 120? Wasn't that a price and this was the people? So that must be $3 per person. All right, so I'm going to do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. What point do you want to pick? Well, I'll just pick the 40 and the 60. So if I do y minus y1, that's going to be y minus 60, because that's the y value. And m is this slope I just found over here, so that's going to be 3. And x minus, what was my x over there? 40. Now it's time to solve because I want it in slope-intercept form. So if I distribute in, I get y minus 60 equals 3x minus 120 when you multiply. Add 60, and I get y equals 3x minus 60. Now it's time to graph it. So I can see that my y-intercept is negative 60. This does not go down to negative 60. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to plot this point. Let's go find out where 40 comma 60 is going to be. So here's 40. You don't even see my dot, do you? There you go. So 40 is right here and 60 is right in the middle. So right there. My other point is 60, and that's, you know what, that's super obnoxious. I want to make that smaller. 40, 60 is right there. Oh boy, look how messy that is. So that's 40 and 60. My other point was over 60 and up 120, I do believe. So let's get that dot ready to go. That's a better looking dot. 60 and 120. And now we'll connect. I'm not going to go anywhere in the negatives because it doesn't make sense to have a negative like people or a negative amount. You're not going to go. So I'm just going to kind of go right there, and that's the end of it. Did not put my labels on, did I? X was how many people? And Y was the total cost. And I identified that up at the very beginning. So I did my labels, I drew an arrowhead, and now I have 90 students. Well, students is people, right? So that was X. So I do Y equals 3X minus 60. Y equals 3 times 90 minus 60. Y equals 270 minus 60. So that's $210 for 90 students. And hopefully you can see that on the graph. Let's see, because I got some kids coming in real fast, but 90 students, that looks perfect. It sure does look like 210, doesn't it, if you go over there. All right, the next couple of videos I'll have to do on a different one just because I've got students coming in.